Reporting from Ukraine update. Ukrainian forces have made further gains in the Kherson region after successfully repelling Russian attacks there. They suppressed Russian thermobaric artillery using drones and conducted precision counter-battery fire. Ukrainian special forces carried out drone and artillery strikes to undermine the Russian offensive capabilities on the outskirts of Kherson. This included destroying several Russian tanks hidden under garbage. Russia claimed partial success in pushing Ukrainians out of a forest, but Ukraine disputed this, posting video evidence they still hold positions inside the settlement. Russia then backtracked on their claims. Ukraine has reinforced the Kherson region and amplified their offensive operation in the forest, establishing control over several more Russian strongholds. President Zelensky praised the Ukrainian Marines' efforts. Russia says Ukraine has improved logistics by creating at least 2 more pontoon bridges near Kherson under artillery cover, allowing them to resupply and rotate troops. Analysts say this will allow Ukraine to increase pressure. Multiple sources, including Russian ones, confirm Ukraine has established multiple footholds on the southern bank of a river in the region. Over 50 sources have released corroborating details about ongoing Ukrainian operations. The United Kingdom's Ministry of Defense latest intelligence update on Ukraine, November 21, 2023. Between November 18 to 19, Russia launched around 50 Iranian-designed Shahed one-way attack drones, primarily towards Kyiv. These were launched from Kursk in the east and Krasnodar in the southeast. One of Russia's objectives was likely to degrade Ukraine's air defenses to prepare for further strikes against Ukraine's energy infrastructure this winter. Russia has not used air-launched cruise missiles from heavy bombers for nearly 2 months, likely to build up a substantial stockpile of these weapons. Russia is highly likely to use these stockpiled missiles if it tries again to destroy Ukraine's critical national infrastructure. Ukraine Matters Update. The Ukrainian armed forces have requested a media blackout concerning the situation around the Kherson front line. Russian forces initially concentrated troops in the north to pressure Ukraine, but these groups have since been diverted to other front lines due to Ukrainian resistance. Approximately 60,000 personnel, 700 tanks, unconfirmed presence, 1,000 armored vehicles, 650 artillery pieces, and 180 rocket artillery. However, this force isn't substantial enough for significant offensive action. The front line around Lyman and Soto has about 40,000 troops, 300 tanks, 700 armored vehicles, and 400 artillery pieces. Despite fewer numbers, this area is strategically fortified and poses a threat to Ukrainian forces. Russians have shifted troops to various fronts, including the south and Bakhmut, due to Ukrainian success in the southern part of Bakhmut. Russia aims to downplay Ukrainian advances, presenting a perception of a deadlock. They've sent reinforcements to Bakhmut but are potentially reaching the limit of their reserves. Current weather conditions, including mud and snow, have created a deadlock in mechanized assaults. Any such attempts would be risky for the attackers. Russia claims to have recruited a large number of troops, but this figure is debated. Most recruits are reportedly young individuals pressured into signing military contracts or mobilized troops continuing service due to ongoing operations. Russia has managed to sustain its military force at around 400,000 troops, but it hasn't been enough to significantly shift the dynamics of the war in their favor. The Institute for the Study of War Russian Offensive Campaign Assessment. Ukrainian and Russian forces continue offensive operations in eastern and southern Ukraine, despite poor winter weather conditions like rain and snow. Ukrainian officials stated Russian shelling in Kherson has decreased due to the weather, but Russian assaults continue in the Kupiansk direction. The number of Russian attacks may go down because of the weather, but they are unlikely to stop offensive operations completely. Ukrainian President Zelensky emphasized strengthening Ukraine's military capabilities before winter during a meeting with U.S. Defense Secretary Austin. Russian military bloggers said both sides are struggling to operate drones effectively for artillery adjustment due to the weather. Muddy conditions are making vehicle movement challenging, but Ukrainian and Russian forces continue maneuvering and operating on all fronts. Freezing winter weather may prompt more active combat when it arrives. The current rain is unlikely to halt attacks from either side. The Institute for the Study of War Key Takeaways today. The Russian Ministry of Defense is struggling to control hysteria around Ukrainian operations in southern Kherson Oblast. Russia conducted missile and drone strikes overnight targeting port and civilian infrastructure in Donetsk Oblast. The Wagner Group may provide an air defense system to Hezbollah or Iran per the U.S. National Security Council. Imprisoned Russian nationalist Igor Girkin's presidential campaign has generated some discourse, but most Russian military bloggers avoided discussing it. Russian confidence in the military has marginally declined in 2023 per analytics company Gallup. Germany announced new military aid for Ukraine during a visit to Kyiv. Armenia denied Russian claims it plans to supply weapons to Ukraine. A former Russian investigative committee official died in prison, allegedly self-inflicted. Russian forces conducted offensive operations along several axes and advanced in some areas on November 21st. Jake Bro update. The changing weather conditions of mud and rain are slowing activities on the battlefields in Ukraine, but clashes continue. Both Ukraine and Russia face logistical challenges rotating troops on and off the front lines. Russia aims to wear down Western support for Ukraine over time as its strategy. There are signs of domestic unrest, with soldiers' wives protesting in Moscow. Allegations have surfaced that Putin owns 9 yachts worth an estimated $65 million so far. North Korea is cozying up to Russia, offering flights and possible arms deals. A crashed Russian passenger jet highlights infrastructure deficiencies. Japan has pledged aid for rebuilding Ukraine. Ukraine's Armed Forces General Staff update. It is day 636 of Russia's attempted invasion of Ukraine. Russia continues attacks using missiles, airstrikes, and artillery across Ukraine, resulting in civilian casualties. Activities continue along multiple axes in eastern and southern Ukraine. Russia conducted unsuccessful ground assaults in various areas. Ukraine repelled multiple attacks. Russia is forcing passportization and Russian citizenship on occupied areas of Luhansk in order to pressure and control the population. Ukraine conducted air and missile strikes against Russian command posts, troop concentrations, equipment, and air defenses. Ukrainian forces continue offensive operations on the Bakhmut axis while holding ground in Kherson, inflicting losses on Russian forces.